Hello, hello, You-est You listeners. I am so grateful that you're here. And I got to tell you, I'm so excited about today's guest. We met a couple of months ago, pre this whole social distancing. We were at dinner, one of my favorite places in Bethesda at True Foods. And you know, when you meet someone and you're like, that is a soul sister, that is someone I just love. I don't even have to have known her before. And Christina was that person. So I am really excited. Wait till you hear Christina's story. You are going to be so touched, moved, and inspired. Let me introduce you to Christina Daves. She is a repeatedly successful entrepreneur, an award-winning inventor, best-selling author, and infectiously energetic speaker. She has sought out opportunities in event planning, land development, retail, and fashion, and pursued them with the work ethic that makes her an inspiration. As many business owners know, starting out small leaves little money for marketing. With a fledgling business and a running clock, Christina developed the PR skills in under 1 year to launch herself and her company into national recognition. Through her 2 best-selling books, The DIY Guide to Free Publicity and PR for Anyone, and her constant speaking appearances, Christina aids owners and employees to take the small steps required to see success and to seize it, and so much more. Christina, welcome to the You-est You podcast.
Oh my gosh, you said that introduction and we met in that restaurant and it really was, I call it love at first sight, but we just clicked. It was just so amazing. And I love when I meet people like that and the universe just says you two need to be together. So I'm so excited and so glad to be here.
Oh my gosh, me too. No, I knew at that moment, I often have this friend, but I'm like, like she must be on this show. So your story is quite amazing, how you've gotten to where you are. And I think it's important for people to hear some of the backstory and some of the trials and tribulations and the dips and the turns. And I know
there's a lot of that.
Let's take us, let's start. What do you think? Maybe with the boot? Should we start around that time?
Sure.
Yeah.
So my father died right after I got out of college, which really shifted my whole life. I was supposed to go to Germany. I had a job, like a whole different pattern, everything. So that kind of thrust me into this life of entrepreneurship. So I did a lot of things. I did event planning. I had a lot of fun. I owned a retail store till I totally burnt out. I didn't have another holiday season in me. And I retired. I was 45. I'm thinking my kids, I'll volunteer at the school. I'll do this. Well, for the entrepreneurs on here, we don't retire. It's in your blood. So we were on vacation with my mom. We were up in Canada at the lake house and I had this freak accident and I broke my foot. And I ended up in that big, ugly black medical boot for 8 weeks. And my husband and I had a little back trip after this that we were going to New York City. And I thought, I cannot go to New York City looking like this. This is fashion capital of the world. So I'm on the train and I'm Googling medical boot fashions, medical boot accessories, and there was nothing on the market. So, and I swear my husband saw the light bulbs go off on the train because he looked at me and said, oh, here we go again. Here's another business idea. But I wanted to make them look good. They're so ugly. So I invented a fashion line for them. And everybody loved the idea. I did everything right, guys. All these people who are starting businesses, I did a business plan. We didn't have SCORE in our area, but we had something very similar. SCORE is where people volunteer to help you start your business, past kind of mid-level management people. So I went to our version of SCORE and they did my spreadsheets and everything right. So we launched and I have a warehouse full of products. I've owned a retail store, right? I know how to sell. Well, what I didn't realize is I created a whole new space in the marketplace. So nobody knew that the product existed. Nobody even knew, I would say, that they needed to decorate their boots. So we had done mortgage our house, mortgage our credit cards. I mean, we had gone all in on this and it was an oh crap moment of now what the heck do I do? How do I sell it? Because I made fatal flaw, one of many. I thought doctors would sell the product. Doctors don't want to do retail. Like, why not? This is such a great idea. In my mind, it was a perfect idea for them. They were not interested. So I had to shift and pivot, which we're doing right now too. It's a big part of entrepreneurship. But then I figured out this publicity thing, and it was free. And when I figured out how it worked, it took me a while. I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but wow. Then when you can expose your business or your product to hundreds of thousands, if you're local, to millions of people, guess what? You sell a lot of stuff. So it was an interesting start. And just how that all came about, but I had to really figure out the PR part of it to learn how to sell my product.
Okay, so you did all these things to make it possible. You had a warehouse of and so it was like a decoration for your booth. And I've seen the picture on you. Okay, tell us then. I know that there was a situation that happened.
Yeah.
That caused quite a bit of angst. Why don't you tell us what happened next?
Well, I didn't know I had money for about 6 months, from everything that we had taken out. It's like, and again, I'm convinced this thing is going to go and it's going to go big. And so I applied for Shark Tank, and I hear back from Shark Tank, and they're like, Christina, we love your energy. You will be so great on TV. We love you. Now there's some other things you have to do. I had to do the application and go through. So step by step, I'm getting approved. At this point, I've moved my vacation. I've picked out my outfit for the show. Like, I am ready to go. I know my numbers. I'm ready. And I remember this so vividly. It was a Friday in April. My phone rings, and it's the California area code. And I'm like, oh, it's them. They're giving me my date. And it's the producer. And she said, Sony, who owns ABC, decided there was a product too similar in season 1. Somebody had done an accessory for a regular boot, like a cowboy boot. And they thought it was too similar, so you can't be on the show. And when I tell you, I cried for 3 days. I cried for 3. And I kept through my tears saying, I know something better is going to happen. And my kids were still younger. Their friends were all over, like, Mrs. Daves, are you okay? Like, I was just, because this was my ticket. This was it. Season 2 of Shark Tank. That was huge. Yeah. And it was not good. And it was not good after that. So I kept plugging away, and nothing was happening. It's just, no, we're not interested. No, thank you. No, if I even heard back. And I continued to try and send things out. And I had sent answered a media query that said, do you have a product you want to take to the next level? And in parentheses, it just said national television. Didn't know what it was. So that was in August. Never heard back. So I remember it was October. It was a Tuesday night, and I'm in front of my laptop just crying, like looking at the universe. You'll notice I cry a lot. Like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm sure you tell people too. It's all right.
Totally.
But I'm really having a moment. I'm like asking the universe, what else can I do? I'm a good person. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, and this is falling apart around me. I don't know what to do. And I wake up the next morning, and there's an email in my inbox from the Steve Harvey show that says, you sent this in a couple months ago. We're interested in your product. We need you to do a video by 10 o'clock. Now, I'm a mom. I've got kids. I've got to make lunches, feed them, get them to the bus stop, get them to school. I'm like, how in the world am I going to do that? 10 o'clock. So I take my Shark Tank video. This is home editing. I edit out the words that say Shark Tank, put it together the best I can do, and I send it off. And they called me back. And I went through a whole day of interviews with producers and all I know is it's a Shark Tank kind of theme. They haven't told me anything. And it was that evening, my husband and I were at a booster club meeting doing, the mom and dad thing. We walk out, they call from the Steve Harvey show. They said, we want you on the show. I was like, oh my God, it's fabulous. When? Tomorrow. What's the name on your driver's license and what's your airport of choice? I'm like, oh, right. I was like, what? And my husband's like, just go. I'll figure the kids out. Just go. This is your opportunity. So literally I have to go home, pack, go to the airport. I get to Chicago, and you guys, your audience will so appreciate this. I am such a universe person. I believe that you can manifest things and things happen. And they have a car for me. I'm in a limo, it's like they have my name, on the placard in the airport. I'm like, this is so cool. And I'm so excited. So I'm talking to the limo driver, and he said, wow, nobody ever talks to me. I just drive people places. I'm like, no, I want to hear, what do you do? What's cool? And he said, do you know the book, The Secret? I said, well, of course I know the book, The Secret. I live The Secret. And he said, I just drove the publisher of The Secret to Oprah. You're sitting where he was sitting.
Wow.
So I texted my husband and I said, I don't know what's about to happen, but it's going to be big. Like something big is about to happen. So then I get to the show the next day, and they go in the green room and they said, we're doing a competition, an inventor's competition. Put your pitch together. Okay, what do you mean put your pitch together? I have no idea. There's 6 of us. So we go on stage and I'm a wreck. I had called my friend who's a hypnotist, and I said, Brian, you have to hypnotize me. I'm going on TV. I can't do this. And he's like, Christina, I cannot hypnotize you over the, like, this is not going to happen. But he said, best piece of advice ever. Nobody wants to see you fail. Mm-hmm. He said, everybody there is going to be so excited for you. He said, embrace the energy. So I get out there. I'm a wreck. I'm so nervous, and I scan the crowd, and I can still see this woman. She's probably late 60s, African-American. She had on a red sweater, and she smiles with her eyes in her mouth. And I'm like, I've got this. I can do this. So we all go through. I'm just rambling. Cut me off at any time.
No, I love it. Please keep sharing.
So we all do our pitches, and mine is not the best. There was somebody else who was really good. Like my product was good, but somebody else's product was so much better. But I kept thinking, no, it's the secret. It's a secret. Like, I'm going to win. It was for a prize for $20,000. So they go and the audience votes, and then the judges vote. So you don't know who the judges have picked. They're the ones with the money, so their vote counts. So the audience picks, and they don't pick me. They pick the other guy, which I would have picked too if I was in the audience. But the judges then, so Steve Harvey says, but that doesn't matter. It's the judges' vote that counts. And they picked me. And even Steve Harvey was like, really? But that changed everything for me. I was at rock bottom. Now I had 20 grand to pay off my bills, to do some marketing. You and I talked about that offline. Marketing is where you should put all your money, but you don't put your money because you're too afraid to. But it put me on the map. So that was a pretty amazing going from down for a long time to the bump up. And then from there, it's just been amazing.
Wow. I feel like one of the lessons you could like harvest out of there is, even in the wallowing and crying, it's like you didn't give up. You kept trying.
I couldn't. Yeah. I kept saying I wasn't going to be the one who looked at my husband and my kids and said, sorry guys, mommy lost the house. Like, I was going to do everything I could to make that not happen.
Wow. So is the boot, are you still selling the boot accessory, or you still do that? That's still something that's going on?
Yeah, we have a fulfillment center now. So it's online. Amazon, we do stuff on Amazon, and we have some clinics that sell it. So yeah, that just does its thing. But then that launched the PR part of it. Was what everybody wanted to learn how to do. They're like, how are you doing this? I still do it. I'm in media all the time, on television all the time, just promoting things, and people wanted to learn how to do it. And literally I was with some friends at a conference, and they're like, PR for everyone was the first one. And that domain was taken, which I now own. Years later, I got that, but PR for anyone was available. So I bought the domain at an event and literally launched the business from there.
Amazing. I love these stories because, we think like, oh, there's the name. It just, no, it happened. Like, you had an instinct, you took action, you grew up from there. So I love this story of like what seemed like a tragedy ended up being such a great experience. And then that just shifted everything.
Yeah. And just so you all know too, that the boot idea I thought was $1 million business. There was no question in my mind. It's not. It wasn't. It's fine. It's profitable. But what happened next was this PR thing. And that's where I found my passion. That's where I found You know, oh, I don't like manufacturing. I figured that out after the fact.
That's so great. Right. So what came out of it, right? Out of necessity to market it.
Yeah.
Talk about the PR, your baby, your next
Yeah.
baby, the PR for anyone, and kind of what you discovered, what your, any tips, but like you really cracked a code. I think that especially anyone that has like gotten into the world of, if you're an entrepreneur or you have services or goods that you want to share,
Or
you've got
nonprofits, anything like that.
Yeah.
Here, well, I have my book, but it's on the back of the book. So you can kind of see right there. That's my formula that I figured out. I just made a little triangle and I call it the Get PR Famous formula. Not everybody wants to be famous, but you have to be famous in your industry to stand out. You have to. You're in the life coaching business. There are a lot of people in that business. You stand out based on the guests you bring on your show, the media exposure that you have, who probably you write for, where you speak. You have to make yourself famous. And one of the easiest ways to do that is media. So I figured out the system that if you have a good story, if you're newsworthy, you create a great hook, which is your subject line, because you got to hook the journalist in, and you find the right journalist for your topic, which hint is not that hard with Google. It's super easy. It works. It's just, and I'll tell you how easy this is. So I have a client that I worked with for years, and he was brilliant at getting in print media. I think he was in 30 or 40 media outlets in a matter of months. Just figured it out. So he called me for a little refresher three weeks ago. He sent his email May 6th, so whatever that is. And he said, Christina, I'm ready for TV. Help me make a plan. How do I get on TV? So we did one session. I told him exactly how to pitch, what to pitch, blah, 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 does this. He sends it in, and he sends me last week the clip from he was on television.
Oh my gosh. That's
so first time, first pitch, right out of the gate, boom, done. It works. It doesn't always work that fast, but a lot of people it does.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just getting in your power and your confidence of what you do.
Yeah.
And I tell all of my clients this, and when I speak, everybody watching this, you have a gift. You have a gift in your industry that is different from anybody else. I've worked with thousands of real estate agents, and people at one time, I'll have 100 clients all in one certain area. And they're like, well, how can you do that? You're giving away all your secrets. I said, no, you're all different. Everybody has a different gift and all of you could pitch the same media outlets with a different story, and you could all get in.
Yeah.
So it's learning that and not being threatened by somebody in your space, or it's owning what you bring to your industry. And even being brand new, you can do this. You bring so much from your past. I think we had this conversation at dinner about this.
Yeah.
That expertise, that knowledge that you bring, even the stay-at-home moms. I'm sorry, did you run the swim team? Did you run the booster club? Did you do the book fair? Did you do the mulch sale, the plant sale? That is a job. Like, you are a CEO, you're an executive doing these things. So people get paid a lot of money to do, but you did it as a volunteer, but you still did it.
Yeah.
So that's again, owning that as, hey, yeah, wow, you're right. That was really important. I know my husband who owns a company was running the mulch sale at our school, and he got it up to $50,000 that they were making.
Wow.
So if you're not working and you do that, that's pretty big. You're selling $5 bags of mulch to a community, and you making 50 grand. That's a lot.
Yeah. That's impressive.
In a business sense. Yeah.
Side business for your husband, maybe. I don't know. the mulch business, where, it can sometimes be overwhelming, right? Like, and I believe this completely, for example, in the space I'm in with, personal growth and development, being your best self, there's a lot of us doing it. And the way I see it is we need everyone. We need all of us. This world can use as many of us as possible. And there are things that, Sarah has that Gabby doesn't, that she does. We all have different unique gifts, like you said. I'm wondering if you have any tips, like where to begin? Like, even if you are experienced, I think it can be daunting, especially if you're a solopreneur and, okay, what do I do first?
Yeah.
What do we need to have together? Maybe you can talk about that for a moment.
Yeah. And again, like you said, and people will resonate with different people. That's why the media wants to have lots of experts. They're not going to use just one. Even the morning shows that have their go-tos and their regulars, they still bring other people in. They're bringing other lawyers and other doctors in. So that's important. I always tell my clients to start local. Local is the easiest place to get media coverage. And it's where, especially if you want to do television, it's a great place to get your feet wet. Because if you're going to mess up, you want to mess up in your market that maybe is the 20th market or 30th market in the country versus going on CNN, MSNBC, the Today Show, Good Morning America, any of those where you've got millions of people. And if you blow that, you might blow everything.
Yeah.
Me being on Steve Harvey was very rare that they would put me on having never had any experience at all. But the kind of segment that it was, they did. But interesting, there was a woman who was there who had sent in her tape and was very energetic and excited. And when we rehearsed, she wasn't like that. And they basically said, we need that person back or you're not on the show.
Wow.
Yeah. So personality is very important, but start locally and do your homework. I tell everybody this. I ask you to do 1 hour of homework. And are you willing to do 1 hour of homework and 5 to 10 minutes a day to expose your business to millions? If you say no,
that's a problem.
then start cold calling, because what I do is a lot easier and a lot more fun.
Yeah.
But you have to know your media outlet, how they cover stories and what they do. So for example, I was before COVID regularly on Good Morning Washington every single month. If I had pitched that segment idea to my local NBC station, that's an ABC station, they would have been like, what are you talking about? We don't do shows like this. This is not what we do. So do your homework. Know, is it the 12 o'clock news? And I'll tell you, in the big cities, the evening news is mainly hardcore. So do they have a daytime show? Do they have a good day show that you would fit into? And I'm guessing a lot of the people that we're talking about, those are the kinds of shows they would fit into. Yeah. But see how they do their stories. So when you do your pitch, you fit right into their puzzle. So it's super easy for them to say yes. And see what they've covered in the past related to you. You can go to a television station. For us, it's WJLA as our Good Morning Washington. You can type a topic in the search bar and see what they've covered and then see what they're missing. Oh, I saw that you've done a lot of segments related to women re-entering the workforce, but I noticed that you haven't covered this topic yet. And I'm a life coach certified. I'm a professor at Georgetown, blah, 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 blah. And I think this would be really valuable to your audience. That's the key. The key to all of this is value to the audience. As much as we want to be on TV or we want to be in the magazines and print and be quoted, we're going to get there because we're helping the journalists provide value to their end user.
Beautiful. Yeah, Christina, so well said. And I know what's helped me too is like, that's how we make an impact, is by getting through on these platforms. That's the whole point. And so I love that idea. That's brilliant, to look and see what they've covered and what's missing. What are the holes that I, or whoever's listening, you can cover that will add, impact, value, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Super important. And when you get into that mindset of giving to the journalists, you'll see it comes back to you. And they are, I'm friends with the journalists that I worked with. I have, anchors, Fox anchors, ABC, I've got their cell phone numbers and I can text them. I mean, that's the relationships that I've built. Yeah. And here's a great story. One of our top anchors left the news industry to become an entrepreneur. And guess who she called for help? Me. I actually named her company for her. Wow. So talk about a full circle of events, how that can happen. But when you build those relationships with people in the media, it's really pretty amazing.
Yeah. And so building those relationships starts first with, like you said, look and see who are the different journalists that are covering those segments, and
Yep.
then start pitching. Yeah. Yeah. This is
And,
really
and the other thing you can do before you pitch is connect with them on social media and stay away from personal Facebook pages. That's aside. If they have a business one, 99% of your journalists are going to be on Twitter, Instagram. Start following them. Comment on the new, the stories related to what they're doing with their television. When you get to be like now I'm friends with them, I'll comment on their family things, and but it's a good way to start to build that relationship. Maybe you see a story they covered and somebody else who, give them that. Hey, I saw that story. It was so great. If you ever do a follow-up or more, you've got to meet, my friend Julie. She is amazing. Here's her website. Check her out. Maybe just keep her in your notes file for a future article segment, something like that, because then you're providing value to them, and they're like, so then when you send your pitch in, it's kind of like, oh wow, Christina's been so helpful that, now let me use her.
Oh, that's great advice. I'm like, wow, I have a little bit of this. I'm like, I have so many people I can recommend. Like that's such a great idea. Like being helpful that way. That makes a lot of sense.
Let me tell you what happened. On Fox, I had been on Fox and I loved the anchor, and I knew she loved entrepreneurial stories. So I would send her really good people in the DC area that I knew, and she loved the stories that I sent her. I would say 99% of the time she put them on. Well, she got slated to do a national syndicated television show for Fox about the next big thing. How do you take an invention from a napkin to store shelves? Guess who she picked to be in that show with her?
Oh my goodness.
Me.
Wow.
Because I was front of mind. I was always providing value. And you know what? I was easy for her. She knew I was good on camera. She knew I would do my homework. She knew I would give her a really good segment, and it was a no-brainer. So they filmed at my house. We did it was amazing.
Oh, that's so fun. When was that, Christina? That's so fun.
Oh, that was probably 2015, 2016, several years ago.
Yeah. That's so great. It shows that's what happens with those relationships, right? Before we wrap, I do want to talk about mindset. You mentioned it earlier. It's kind of the golden thread to everything. It got you from in the depths of the gutter with Shark Tank to being chosen on the Steve Harvey show to where you are now. Clearly, you've had to have a certain mindset to help you succeed. We talked about the secret. Maybe just talk for a few minutes about what kind of mindset you think we must have to really make a difference.
Yeah. I think you have to have the mindset of this will work. Might not work the way you're going, but this will work. And it's interesting. I've been married 24 years. I've been with my husband for 26 years. So he has seen this from me from the beginning. And he said it took him probably a good 10 years to drink my Kool-Aid, but not to be scared when I had this big idea and was going to try something and put a lot of money into it, because I always knew it would work out. Might not be the $1 million business that I thought it was going to be, but we didn't lose the house. We didn't lose anything. It's fine. But to have that mindset, because I think you can pull yourself into the gutter. Even when I was sad and crying in my tears, I was like, I know there's something better. I truly believe that but if you're not open to it and for it and being willing to accept it, you might miss it. So you have to stay alert and aware. And we were talking before we went on air that I'm a speaker. I had a calendar full of speaking engagements for 2020 that literally got ripped off like a Band-Aid. And I went the next day, I dumped a ton of money into a LinkedIn marketing expert that I know who's a colleague and a friend, because I knew that's where I needed to be. I had the content, I just didn't have the time to do it. Partnered with 2 people that I might not have partnered with, that now all of a sudden we have this amazing new business that we just launched. So again, it stung for when that first happened, because I've worked really hard to get to this year, to 2020, to get to a point where I'm making 5-figure speaking and flying all over the country. And I was so excited, and poof, it's gone. I'm sure you had things like that too. The good news is I'm already booking for 2021. So that's the bright light there. But again, And it's okay to be down. I've told you I cry. But you've got to have that mindset that that's not the end of the world. You can't go in your bed and pull the covers up for a week or 2 weeks. That's what I told people during COVID.
Right.
It sucked and it still sucks, but you've got to get out there. You've got to let people know you're still there and you're working and you're doing this and you're doing that, because the people who are hiding are not going to do well when this ends. It's going to be a big weed out in business, I think.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's kind of I keep seeing it as this call to action to really go deep and to pivot in ways that are really the most helpful to whoever you're here to serve.
And that's exactly it. We're not gouging. We're not selling. It really is serving. Everything I've been putting out is just content. Do this, do this, do this. This will help you. This will help you.
So great.
But that will all come back. I believe that.
It all comes back to that, what you believe. And that's what I feel like is so important. Your stories are incredible. And, so I often hear my audience, I know this might sound strange, but I'll hear people kind of in the background. I'm like, what I want to say is this is not unique to Christina. This is for all of us. Like what you're saying is when you really believe it's going to work out, when you really believe that you have a message, a gift to share. I've seen this myself. It's like the universe will bend over backwards. We just got to be unattached to how that happens. And that's what I think you were saying. And so this is for everybody to be able to do this.
Absolutely. And at any stage that you're at, just know it's probably not going to go the way you planned. that's
a good way to, oh yeah, that's good to throw in there. Yeah. But could be better.
It has been better.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But yeah, I always liken it to a pinball machine. You've got to be able to go bing, bing, bing to work your way up, and shoot back up again.
Awesome. Christina, any last, what I call heart flare, any last words of wisdom, something that's just kind of there for you that you want to share? And if not, that's okay. But
no, I say this to everybody, and it's come back to haunt me with my kids, but don't be afraid to ask. Ask people for help. Ask people for media exposure. Ask people if you see somebody. Most people are not going to say no. They're not. People want to help other people. And if you need a mentor, you need something like that, don't be afraid to ask for that, because it will only help you in the long run.
That is so powerful. And I'm just going to add in, especially for us ladies, for women, definitely get out there and ask. Men too. I think sometimes women have a little harder time with that.
They do. They do. Ask other women. We tend to not say no.
There you go. That's a good. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so grateful for you. And thank you. There's so much here that's just really, really rich, really rich and wonderful.
Good.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.